Hi guys, my name is Greg Kourpanidis and welcome to the Revo PT podcast, which is brought to you by Revolution Performance Training. I'm an avid trainer and fitness coach who strives to learn the very best in the world of health and fitness. Join me each episode as we speak to game changers in their chosen fields, sharing their story of passion and success. For all podcast related things, please subscribe and check us out on RevoPT/podcast. Enjoy this episode. Okay, thanks for tuning in to episode 116 of the All Revolution podcast. Today we have two guests on the podcast from Tribute Boxing in Docklands, Melbourne. Both are current trainers from the Tribute stable, and I'm super excited to welcome them both onto the podcast. So, let's welcome Tiger Muay Thai One Championship fighter and former Australian national team wrestler Uyen and MMA fighter and trainer Rebecca Cerra from Absolute MMA. Welcome to the All Revolution podcast.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
No, super excited to have you both on. Before we get started, I guess how are you both sort of coping during this sort of quarantine period?
So it's been a bit tough during this time. And I suppose being like a personal trainer as well has been difficult. But yes, just making the adjustments as well. So I've actually still got a lot of clients that are still wanting to train. At the start, I think because it was so unknown with the virus and all that, they were a bit hesitant to really train a bit. But now things have eased down in Australia. So I've picked up a lot of PTs, but also a lot of new clients wanting to train, just get fit and healthy as well. So just been doing it out in the park. Sometimes it's difficult with the weather leading into winter now, but I've still got clients that will come and it's raining. We've got like undercover, but no excuses for them. But yeah, still finding ways.
Yeah, fantastic. How about yourself, Uyen?
It's definitely been hard. Like all the gyms are closed, so we can't get our normal training in. But we've been able to film a lot of workout videos at Tribute Boxing, so that's been really nice to just be able to get in and get a workout in as well. And also I've been training, having a few PTs, so it's good.
How are you finding the weather adjustment again? It's Melbourne. How you remember it or?
Look, today wasn't a great day weather-wise. It's definitely an adjustment from living in Phuket for 5 years. But you know, in Phuket we get rainy season, which torrential hurricane weather. But here it's not quite the same, but it's very on and off, and I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's it. 4 seasons in a day. Fantastic. Alrighty, so before we dive in, I thought it'd be a good opportunity for both of you, I guess, to give a little bit of introduction into, I guess, who you are and, I suppose your journey, really. We'll start with you, Uyen.
Right, so I started training MMA when I was 16. I had never done any martial arts before that, and I always wanted to, watching action movies and all that jazz. So when I first started at Absolute MMA in Melbourne, I fell in love with the sport, and it gave me a real family. And as soon as I started training, I knew that I wanted to fight. When I was 18, right after finishing high school, I went to Thailand for 3 months and then trained full time. And that was one of the best times of my life. And then a year later, I moved to Thailand full time. I was a sponsored fighter at AKA Thailand and then Tiger Muay Thai. I fought professional Muay Thai and amateur MMA, and then made my pro debut at One Championships, One Warrior Series. So I've moved back to Melbourne now as of about 3 months ago, and I'm a coach at Tribute Boxing and still signed to One Warrior Series. And I mean, it's been a little bit tough training for the past few months. So.
Oh, very good. And yourself, Beck?
So I started about 6 years ago when I was 20 years old. So a little bit later, I played team sports for most of my life, like basketball. It was a big part of my life. I started at 5 years old but then I first learned kickboxing. So there was a new gym opening up at the time. And then I just started going to classes. And then my coach at the time brought me over to a fight gym. Then I just really enjoyed the training from like kickboxing into more Muay Thai. And then, yeah, just the training started ramping up and I really enjoyed it. Just the challenge of something new, especially coming from a team environment to something where it's just like you inside of the ring or cage.
Yeah.
And so I trained like Muay Thai for 3 years. And then when I met my partner, actually, he kind of showed me MMA.
Yep.
And I was like, I just fell in love with MMA and just all the disciplines, like learning it, you constantly have to keep growing as a martial artist. And yeah, just loved it ever since.
Very good. So yeah, obviously both were hooked on it from a early age. And I suppose going, I guess back to it says child growing up. So you both sort of mentioned we both very sort of like active kids. You obviously you played lots of sports. What other sports did you guys play before I suppose you got into martial arts?
I played pretty much everything. Like I dabbled in everything when I was in year 7. Throughout primary school, I didn't play any sports. I used to go home and sit on the couch and watch TV. In year 7, when I went to high school, I started trying out all the different sports, but none really took my fancy. Like there were none that I was passionate about. I really enjoyed soccer and lacrosse, but then, after a while, mornings in the cold Melbourne weather just wasn't worth it. But then when I actually started MMA, I was doing earlier mornings in colder weather. So I guess it wasn't, it's what you're interested in the most.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Yourself, Beck?
So yeah, like I mentioned, I started basketball when I was about like 5 years old. So I continued that till I was about like 20, and then I wanted to take my Muay Thai seriously, so I made the shift. But basketball was a big part of my life. I also played like mixed basketball as well. I played volleyball, netball. I did long distance running as well throughout high school. So yeah, that was my journey. But yeah, I wanted a new challenge, so that's why I made the shift across to martial arts.
Yeah, no, very nice. Now, I believe both of you also done a bit of study in that as well. Can I suppose you both share, I guess, what you guys have kind of been studying and I suppose how you've been able to balance it with, I suppose, your training and your martial arts?
So I've been doing a double degree in law and international relations at ANU. I started in 2015. But in 2016 or so, I moved to Thailand. So I've been doing it part-time since then, thanks to the athlete program, which means that, they give me concessions and help me out with my study. But now, since I've been back in Melbourne, I'm starting full-time again and have a couple more years to go.
How's that transition going from, I suppose, full-time, part-time study? Must be quite difficult.
It's not so bad. I've only picked up one extra subject, so it's not full-time.
Oh, okay. No, fair enough. And yourself, Beck?
So I studied a Bachelor of Business major in Human Resources and Management and also did minors in psychology. So yeah, I did that full time and then I was still like working casually, still training as well. But so it's when you have that passion, you make time for it. So whether it's waking up early in the morning or fitting that session in the evening, you always make time for it. But yeah, I found that was really good to help set up. Then I went into my personal training. So kind of having that business and then bringing that across, that knowledge, helping me with my personal training.
Oh, so you feel like you've taken those skills pretty well. It's been quite a good transition.
Yeah. Especially from business-wise, but also learning like psychology as well. Because mindset is a big part of like being an athlete as well, but also a coach and helping clients through that.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Now, can you both of us sort of talk about some of your, I guess, your early influences through martial arts? I'll start with you, Beck. Let's switch it up.
Yeah, so my influences, in terms of like MMA, I really love Khabib's style. I mean, he just masters the fundamentals, the basics. People are like, okay, we know he's going to do this, but they're still unable to stop him. But I just like his hard work ethic as well. And I think it's just, keep on refining the skills that you have and keep building it up. So, I just like style, but also Holly Holm as well, being a striker. And, how she came from that striking background into MMA. So, role models in MMA.
Okay, nice. And yourself, Wen?
I'd like to say that my biggest influences would be Mike Tyson and Jessica Andrade. I really like that they're shorter fighters like myself, so they really have to get in the pocket with a lot of aggression, a lot of power, and a lot of like slipping and movement. So I love that style, just getting in there.
You must be pretty excited, Mike Tyson making a potential comeback.
Yeah, crazy. I'm so into it.
Yeah, no, I saw you guys maybe I'm sure it was you, Beck, who's been working on the slip combo. Looking, pretty slick.
Yeah, so I love Mike Tyson for one of my boxing influences. I train a lot of his style and how I can try and incorporate that into MMA as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I love using like the peekaboos, working all the different combos from that. So yeah, it's been great to learn from him. Yeah.
Nice, neat. That's real good. Now, I suppose giving us a little bit of insight for those who don't know, what mixed martial arts is. I guess can you go kind of explain, the discipline of it and how it sort of differs to, boxing, wrestling, kickboxing. I guess in your own words, starting with you, Uyen.
I think mixed martial arts is basically what it sounds like, a mix of all the disciplines put together.
Mm-hmm.
And back in the day, let's say 20 years ago, it was literally people from different martial arts backgrounds being put together and to see which martial art was the best. But now MMA has become its own style, so it's really its own sport now. Yeah.
And yourself, Beck?
Yeah, so basically what Uyen was saying, especially at the start when the UFC kind of started, it was kind of introduced a lot of the jiu-jitsu, like the Gracies and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think now it's important to be kind of like a well-rounded fighter and to have, a good solid understanding of all martial arts, how you can bring it together.
Yeah.
But yeah, it differs from like, your boxing and Muay Thai, because those type of stances, you can't necessarily bring them into your MMA. That's where, when you come up against a boxer or like a Muay Thai fighter, it's very upright and the takedowns a bit easier. So just adapting, those striking styles. And then if you're wanting to do MMA, considering of the grappling and takedowns that are coming in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, in terms, I guess, the training demands of mixed martial arts, how would you both describe as the training, whether it was your own style, I guess, what it involves and why, I guess, it's so rigorous as some people like to, put it? Starting if you Uyen.
It's very extensive. Like Beck said, you have to learn all the different disciplines to be a well-rounded fighter. Mm-hmm. So at most gyms, they will have a jiu-jitsu class, a Muay Thai class, a boxing class, and you really have to go to all of them to be able to get the fundamentals of each and then bring it together to make your own style. So you can't just go to an MMA class and that's your style. You have to learn every discipline as well, which makes it a lot harder. And it also means, especially with your time management, if you have a full-time job, if you're studying, you have to choose which one's the most important for me to learn right now.
And in terms of, I suppose, the strength conditioning, how do you incorporate that sort of stuff within that too? Because it's obviously
well, there are a lot of strength and conditioning coaches that are well knowledge in MMA now, so they're getting on the scene and helping us out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and yourself, Beck?
Yeah, it's definitely hard to kind of fit it all in, but you just have to work out that balance of getting, your sparring in, whether it's like MMA sparring and then striking, your grappling as well, jiu-jitsu, and also your strength training. So I guess it's like, looking at your schedule to see where you can put certain things, like, for myself, when I'm doing like my strength, because I might be like working on my power, so lifting heavy, I kind of don't put it on the days that I'm going to spar. Otherwise, I feel like my energy's all gone. So I think it's understanding how you perform well and how to roster in your training sessions.
That's actually a good segue into my next question. It's kind of going in more in terms of the structure is, I suppose, how do you balance the lot? Like, what would a typical week for both of you look like from a training perspective? Maybe it's a little bit different at the moment, obviously, granted what's going on now, but in terms of like, let's say, like, how would a week look different? So as if you're preparing for a fight and let's say not preparing for a fight, like how would it look in terms of the balance of training sessions?
Yeah, so basically my training, or when things are normal, my training stays pretty consistent. And then if I've got a fight, it stays consistent until the last week, basically, just so you don't get injured. but yeah, my aim is, sparring. So I probably get like 2 MMA sparring sessions in, one striking, like a Muay Thai sparring, and then also just grappling, jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
And like I said, I try maybe put my like sprints, or if I'm doing cardio and all that on a day, kind of like with my sparring. And then I'll just make sure I split it up as well, so I've got time to recover. That way I'm still able to perform as well. But it's also hard being a PT. You have to find that balance. You've got clients wanting to book in at certain times.
Or train when you want to train. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to work around that. Especially, it's been a big adjustment because I was always used to waking up early to like train in the morning. So for myself, I've actually performed better in the mornings, but now being a PT, I've kind of had to adjust that.
Yeah.
So now like my sparring's at night, and it's been like a big change, but all part of the challenge. And yeah.
No, fair enough. Well, it sounds like you're managing it pretty well. Uyen, how about yourself?
For me, my training is pretty different during fight camp and off fight camp. So during fight camp, it's a lot of fight specific stuff, and only the things that we will be using during the fight. We're not learning anything new unless it's specific to the opponent.
Yep.
So it'll be a lot of pad sessions, a lot of very specific things, as opposed to outside of that fight camp, I can taper down a little bit, have a little bit of fun, do stuff that I wouldn't do, and work on slowly, like in my own time, the things that I did wrong in the last fight or whatever. Like I might do more no-gi, I might do gi jiu-jitsu, and which I wouldn't do, and I wouldn't do gi during fight camp. So it depends, it kind of eases up, and I get a little, I get to experiment a little bit more outside of fight camp. But even then, during training, it's very structured, especially at Tiger Muay Thai. We have such a big professional team. There's 4 p.m. training, pro training every weekday. So Monday and Friday is sparring, Tuesday, Thursday is wrestling, and Wednesday is technique. And then you can fit in what you want in the morning, usually boxing or no-gi, and then add your strength and conditioning in that. So that's usually the same. And then in fight camp, we also have fight-specific strength and conditioning sessions.
Okay, so it's pretty regimented as it is, and obviously if there is, like, I suppose, a fight or something coming up, things can slightly change, but it's pretty structured from there on, really.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for you both sort of, I guess, preparing for a fight, I mean, look, I must say it probably would be hard in some sense. One, obviously, at times maybe even get fights with people and full stop, like, actually. But is there a specific sort of like time period you sort of like to give yourself, like whether it be, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, or does that matter? If you're starting, if you win.
I usually start at least with a 4-week fight camp. That's like the minimum if I've booked a fight quickly. Yep. 4 to 8 weeks would be good. I think 6 weeks is the optimum amount of time.
And yourself, Beck?
Yeah, probably that 6 to 8 weeks is, optimal would be great. But especially if I know there's a fight coming up, kind of like a date, I kind of have that in my mind. So just in case you do get a short notice, maybe 4 weeks out, 3 weeks out, and your body's ready, and it's enough time since your last fight as well. Yeah. So sometimes I go into it that way. So as long as I've spaced it out since my last fight to now, that's another way I look at that as well.
Yeah.
And I think like it's probably the same for Beck, but we're always training hard anyway. So even if a fight opportunity were to come up, we've been training all year, it doesn't really matter. Obviously we get in that camp, we up it a little bit more, maybe a little bit more cardio, but for the most part, like, we're good to go. It's not like we're going from, sitting on the couch every single day to, oh no, I've booked a fight, now I have to train super hard and lose 20 kilos.
Yeah. Do you think that's a mistake that some fighters make, or some people make, not supposed to stay in shape the whole year round? You both say, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well, that kind of goes into another, I guess, another part of my question. So I suppose of mixed martial arts, unique in the sense you have weight classes, which obviously and in terms of the science involved with weight cutting, can you both sort of explain your own, or talk about your own sort of experiences, whether do you both do like big sort of weight cuts, or, how I suppose what's your strategies really? Start with you, Beck.
Yeah, so at the moment I've been fighting on a promotion path to Hex, the amateur one. So it's been weighing in the morning of the fight, and then you fight in the evening.
Yep.
So knowing that, you can't do a big weight cut, otherwise, your body will really feel it by the time it's the evening. So I probably, try to walk around at like 65, and then leading up, each week to the fight as well, kind of taper off for a bit in terms of calories. And then maybe that last week I might only have like 2 kilos, 2.5 to go. And then that's quite easy to lose. And then I'm still, or especially the first fight, it's kind of the first time. So you don't want to do a big weight cut. And then you want to also make sure you're able to perform at that weight as well comfortably when you fight. So taking from my first fight what I've learned, and then just feeling good about that, and then taking it through the other fights.
So it sounds like you don't do too much weight cutting, as it is. Like you pretty much stay pretty close to your natural weight.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, very good. And yourself, Lynn?
So previously I did a normal weight cut with wrestling and amateur fights, which was day before weigh-in. And yeah, just hit the sauna. I try to diet as much as possible and just kind of shred it all off before, so I don't have to be in the sauna or the bathtub a long time, because I'm not about that. But thankfully in one championship, weight cutting is banned. So we have 2 hydration tests. Basically, if I fight on a Friday, I'll weigh in the first time on Wednesday. It'll be a normal get on the scales and a hydration test to see if we're dehydrated or not. And it'll be exactly the same the next day. So basically you have to come in around your walk-in weight, which is perfect for me. Usually when I start camp, I'm a little bit heavier, but it all kind of comes down really easily once I start eating cleaner. And then, I'll have dinner, I'll have lunch on the day before weigh and the day of weigh-in, and then I'll just walk into the fight yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, that's good. Now, do you think in terms of the direction of weight cut, like, would you much rather see that sort of more around your natural weight instead of doing those sort of big weight cuts?
100%. Like, weight cutting and dehydrating yourself is so unhealthy. There are so many athletes that have had to go to hospital or have had, liver problems, I think it is, or not really sure. But
yeah, that's right.
But it's so bad, and the only reason you do it is to get a physical advantage over the other guy, because you know that your opponent is also cutting weight. So if you take off that, you take off the ability to dehydrate yourself, you know that your opponent isn't going to come 10 kilos heavier than you, so you're not going to do it as well. It's just a more sensible and safe way to do it.
No, very good. Now, I suppose both when you both initially started MMA, was it what you expected, or was there anything that sort of surprised you, or starting with you, Beck?
It was just a big difference, probably just the size of the gloves, and then getting used to the MMA sparring, for example, especially when you're becoming Muay Thai, we're so used to wearing the 16-ounce bigger gloves as well. So when you block, but then going into MMA sparring, you wear your 7-ounce gloves, and there's much more room to get that shot through. So that's probably the big difference. But I knew it was quite challenging, just at the start learning different martial arts. I knew I was in quite a challenge, but that was probably the only wake up call.
Okay. And yourself, Lynn?
For me, when I started MMA, I actually had no idea what it was. I didn't know what the UFC was. I literally Googled martial arts Melbourne, and Absolute came up. I had no idea what MMA was.
Yeah.
Not for another 6 months, honestly. It's a bit embarrassing, but I was 16, so whatever. So when I went into the gym, I had no idea what I was doing, and I didn't really have any expectations. I was more working on my confidence, because it was a scary place. Not scary in a normal sense, but it was just a lot of boys. And for a 16-year-old girl that started, it's kind of scary.
Well, I suppose that's actually, again, I was going to get into that one of my later questions. Might as well ask it now. I suppose 2 girls was training in a sport which is, or maybe most gyms male sort of dominated, or did you find that quite sort of intimidating early on, or?
Not really, because I've got two older brothers, so I was so used to like playing sports with them all the time. They're friends as well, so like footy, basketball. But when I first started, probably wasn't as many women in martial arts. So, you always get to like, a guy, like sometimes I'm not like, we're not afraid. We'll go up, we want to spar, but then they'll be like, oh, I don't want to hurt you. But, and then you end up hurting them. Then they're like, okay, you can fight. But yeah, I guess just having, your coaches as well, that like, they believe in you, they trust you and to put you in, sparring and all that. So they believe in your skills. But I think it's been great now seeing a lot of women come through martial arts.
Yep.
So it's more, for us to spar. And I think men now as well can kind of like appreciate our skill sets and can learn from us as well. So yeah, definitely.
No, absolutely. Win, do you want to add anything into that?
Yeah, well, as I said, when I walked into the gym, I was pretty scared, but I had a really supportive coach. He was very, he looked out for me. And after my very first session, he actually told me to talk to one of the girls. Her name's April, and she had been training jiu-jitsu for 1 year. And, my coach just wanted to, for me to have a chat with her and just to see what it's like being a female in an MMA gym. And, during the session, I really wasn't sure if I was going to come back, but April really talked me into it. She was like, it's great. I've done this, I've done that. I'm having so much fun. And I was like, oh, sounds pretty cool then. So I'm really glad that I was able to have great female influences in the MMA gym, even though there weren't that many females in the gym. The females that were there were very strong and very intellectual.
Yeah, no, great. Now, so slightly fast forwarding from that, can you both share, what do you remember from like your first fight that you ever had, and the experience that you both took away from it? We'll start with you, Beck.
So my first fight, I remember I was quite nervous just to walk out and maybe like the first minute of the round, because you got so many people watching you, family, friends are all there as well. So kind of like the first minute, getting your bearings, I still had nerves, but once you kind of get a few knocks and then you start to feel a bit more comfortable and all that. But on my first fight, I actually lost that. But then I didn't let that kind of deter me. I'm just like, there's going to be losses. I've lost in basketball before too. You kind of just have to pick yourself up, learn from that, and then that just motivated me more. And then I went on to win my second fight and continued on. So I guess it's not letting kind of like the obstacles or challenges bring you down, and just always having your head up and looking forward and learning from those experiences.
Yeah, so you knew straight away you wanted to get right back in there, even though I was lost there. No.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
What about yourself, Win?
I trained for 2 years without ever fighting, and I knew I wanted to fight, but there were no opportunities for me, or I wasn't ready. And I had this doubt in my head that would be like, oh, what if I get into a fight and don't enjoy it? Like, I've been training for 2 years of my life and I love every moment of it, but what if it's not for me? So when I finally did have my first fight, that was a Muay Thai fight in Thailand in 2014. I won TKO in the second round, and I had so much fun, and I was like, yeah, this is where I belong. This is so me, and I love this. So it really reinforced all of my doubts, that I'd been training for so long without any fights, and I was like, yeah, this is what I love doing. So that's what it gave me.
Okay, no, nice. And what advice, I suppose, would you give to someone that wanted to pursue martial arts? We'll start with you, Win.
Just stick to it, because there's a lot to learn, especially in MMA, and a lot of the movements you're going to do are just not natural. Then, they're awkward, they're weird, and they're hard to get your head around. But if you keep coming back, you'll see the improvement. I was never a talented athlete or naturally talented, but I just worked through everything and I just stuck to the gym. So, I kept coming every day, and I'm not the best now, but I've come a long way. So don't give up, just keep coming back, even if it's weird.
Yeah, fair enough. And yourself, Beck?
So it's going win, you know, just be consistent with your training. You're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days as well. But martial arts is always just about learning and just to keep that open mind as well. Even now, I'm still learning, you know, new techniques, new skills. So it's a journey where you constantly have to keep growing.
Yeah, 100%. Now, slightly switching gears. So you're both, I touched on at the start of the episode, you both were out of tribute boxing. I suppose, can you both talk about how that sort of opportunity came to be? I'll start with you, Beck.
Yes, so before that, I was at Fitness First. I was still like teaching a lot of clients martial arts and doing a lot of pad work. And then I saw an opportunity came up at Tribute Boxing. I'd always followed them on Instagram and admired all their pad work and the coaches there. So it's a perfect opportunity. Then I remember I actually went to the interview a week like out of a fight as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and I got the job opportunity. And yeah, so been there since September last year.
Yep.
And yeah, I love it there. I get to share my passion, train a lot of people as well to fight. We do a fight night there. So the end of last year was the first fight night I was involved in. I was lucky to be able to coach a team. So we had like 17 fighters. Yeah. So I coached a team alongside another coach. And yeah, it was great seeing, you know, some of them start their 10-week camp with no sparring experience whatsoever. And then they get to the end of it and they get to fight in the ring. So it was great being a coach as well on the other end and seeing their journey.
Yeah, I actually was at that that event, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Would you sort of recommend that's probably a good experience for someone who really wants, I suppose, you know, put a foot in the water and I guess see what it's all about?
Yeah, definitely. So we do matchups that like all of us coaches will get together, you know, we'll say we've got this matchup at this weight. We do it so it's, you know, fair. We're not going to have one person, okay, they're clearly going to win. So we want a fair fight. We want them to enjoy the experience as well. But it's great, you know, you get that team building with everybody as well. So, yeah, we put a lot of time with the team and help build their confidence up. And by the end of it, you know, they've loved it, win, lose or draw, they've come out a winner. But yeah, definitely a great experience. I've got, you know, new people wanting to fight and all that. So I said, you know, this is a great stepping stone for them.
Yeah, no, it's it's amazing atmosphere as well. Like I remember it was a good kind of, I suppose, to have that, that whole overall crowd experience too. So no, that's great.
It's like I've been to MMA shows there, Muay Thai shows at the Pavilion, but this is like packed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What about yourself, Uyen? How did you find, I suppose, tribute boxing?
So I haven't been there very long. I moved back to Melbourne in mid-Feb, so only a few months ago. I had seen people post videos of tribute before, so I'd known of it a few years back. And I decided, you know, probably try to earn some money. Haven't been working for a while. I don't have any job back in Thailand. So, you know, come back here and study and work and train. And yeah, I sent them a message and that was it. Went for an interview and checked out the gym, did a few trial classes, and it's been great. I mean, I only worked there for 2 weeks before it got shut down.
Yeah.
But so far, it's exceeded expectations. It's a really good vibe. I really enjoy it. All the coaches are great. So I'm looking forward to working there when it opens up again.
I suppose, can you both talk about the transition to, I suppose, fighting to coaching? Has it been, I suppose, a difficult one or challenging or whatnot? I'll start with you, Uyen.
At Absolute, we always did a lot of partner work, a lot of pad work and partner drill. So I had always known how to hold pads. In Thailand, I never held pads. So I was a bit rusty when I first started at Tribute, but the more that I'm doing it, the more confident I'm getting, the more, you know, the more smooth I am with it. So it takes time and, you know, we're getting there. From fighting to coaching, I think some people can be great fighters. That doesn't mean that they can coach at all. Yeah. And some people who aren't great fighters can be great coaches. And I think I'm doing all right because I'm not a dickhead and I'm not too socially awkward. I'm pretty personable, so it's easy, especially as a female. It's a lot easier to connect with other females when you're coaching them because I know where they come from.
Yeah. Okay, but yeah, you're a lot better hitting the pads than being on the receiving end. Sounds like it.
Yeah, I'm getting used to it. I'll be good in like 2 months.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. How about yourself, Beck?
So yeah, I found it quite easy. I always did a lot of pad work, helping train my partner as well. So he's a pro MMA fighter, so that got me sharp on the pads.
Yep.
And then also just working alongside other coaches at Tribute has been good. See how they coach, but then also being able to bring my fighting experience from MMA, what it's like to be on the receiving end of a punch. So it's good kind of to have that experience, and then you can help the fighters as well with their journey.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And how I suppose you both have sort of how would you describe it as your training style or like coaching style? Like, would you say they're quite similar or they're quite different? We'll start with you, Beck.
I'll say they're quite different. So like my fighting style, I suppose it always depends on the opponent and then kind of how you assess and like, what openings are there. Yep. But I would say my style is quite aggressive. I do like to come forward a lot. I like striking, coming from that striking background. And also when I work with, fighters, I want to see kind of their strengths and how I can bring that out more and work with their style rather than just change them to be like me. So, it's just helping them mold them into what they feel comfortable in with their style. I think it's important.
So you really encourage them, obviously, to have their own sort of style and not kind of mold them into, I suppose. Yeah. Is that what you're...
Yeah, because especially all us coaches at Tribute, we have different styles, but, something for me could work for one person, one fighter, but not the other, whereas they could get something from another coach. But, it's just, giving them, all the skills and then working with them and seeing how they feel comfortable with what techniques and skills. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. How about yourself, Uyen?
I think you have to take into account what kind of client you're working with or the kind of person they are, if they're only doing it as a hobby or if they're looking to fight or if they are a fighter. So you can obviously push them a lot harder if they have a fight coming up. And I think that would be my preferable coaching style, just kind of push them to death. But obviously you can't do that if they're just trying to lose weight or something. And personally, I don't ever teach anything that doesn't work for me. So everything that I've learned from my fighting, I will bring to the table with my coaching. But I do encourage them to, experiment around and see what works for them and see what kind of style they like.
Now, I suppose from a beginner or a teaching point of view, what would you both say, I suppose, is the most sort of important thing or aspect when it comes to, I suppose, martial arts? Start with you, Uyen.
What do you mean? Sorry.
For like a beginner or even someone at any level, what's probably an area or something that you think is very important that everyone should know or, I suppose, work on or master?
Wrestling.
Yeah.
For MMA, obviously.
Music.
I mean, that's the best base that you can have for MMA. If you're a good wrestler, you can dictate where the fight goes. If you're against a striker, you can take him down, and you have a great base for that. If you're against a jiu-jitsu player, you can not get taken down. You have great defense. So for me, wrestling is number one, not biased at all. But wrestling also teaches a lot, it teaches a lot of discipline. You need to be strong and you need to have good cardio as well as technique. So what you learn in wrestling is all very transferable to MMA. And I think a lot of fighters, especially in Australia, they do skimp out on the wrestling as well as jiu-jitsu players. So even now, you see jiu-jitsu players who have done wrestling or who incorporate wrestling into their game. They're a lot better than the guys who don't. And there's a reason for that.
Yep. Okay, good answer. Yourself, Beck?
So probably looking, from like a complete beginner, if I've got a new client starting out, for me, when I'm teaching them, it's just to get that mind in sync with the body. That's the most hardest thing, and making them more conscious about, the technique that it involves. So then, they can pick up on, okay, I need this, I need to change this, I need to move my foot and all that. So that's probably one of the hardest things teaching a beginner, just everything in sync and in moving. And then, you can just add that onto the other disciplines as well. So I think the mind and body is a big part in martial arts.
Yeah. No, very good. And in terms of, I guess, for yourself, for both of you actually, what sort of one thing I suppose you wish that you sort of had known before I suppose you started mixed martial arts? I'll start with you, Beck.
I guess for me, I just kind of wish I started earlier, a lot younger, to be honest.
Yeah.
I kind of watched UFC before I went into martial arts anyway, so I kind of knew on face value what it was, you know.
Yeah.
And then I knew, I guess being older as well, like starting at 20 years old, I was kind of up for the new challenge and, you know, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll put in this amount of time in my training to get it done because this is my new goal now. So mentally I was driven and like motivated despite any challenges. But yeah, I just wish I started earlier.
Okay. No, fair enough. And yourself, Lynn?
This is a hard question because I'm not really sure. I've taken all the steps that I've wanted to take and had to take during my career. And I started pretty early in comparison to others, but you know, it wouldn't hurt to start a little bit earlier. Although the fear with that is, you know, if you start something too early, then, you know, you might drop it off later or so. I know my mum forced me to do piano lessons and I absolutely hated it. So, you know, not quite the same, but
yeah.
You know.
Okay. No, that's fair enough. Now, I suppose a little bit of a curveball question, and we're going to start with you, Win. If you could step into my shoes, so let's say you were the podcast host, what would you have asked yourself that I haven't asked you already? And you have to answer it, of course.
Put me on the spot.
Yeah, that's the...
Does Beck want to go first?
Oh, if she's got an answer, she can go first.
Yeah, I'll go first. Probably if I were to ask, probably just any athlete in general, like in terms of their mindset and their motivation, how do they always kind of like keep that going?
Yep.
So that's probably my question. For myself, I just constantly remind myself of the goal, what I want to achieve. You know, you have your ups and downs in training, but you just have to keep on reminding yourself, okay, I have this goal, I'm doing it for this reason. As long as I put in the work, you know, some days aren't always going to be my best, but as long as I put in the work, I know that will help me achieve my end goal.
Yeah.
And I guess when you want something so bad, you know, you just have that motivation and that mindset just to keep pushing through and persevering. So that's what I like learning from other athletes as well, just more about their mindset, what helps motivate them in their trainings.
Yeah. No, that's a great answer. All right, Win. Last word on that one.
Okay, I've got my question. I would ask how to handle a loss. So I got knocked out in my last fight, and you know, as expected, it's not fun. It's not great, but for people who go through losses and who go through a loss that's being live streamed around the world, it's kind of embarrassing. It's humiliating, especially if it's your first loss. But, you know, the way I see it is everybody loses at some stage in their career or in their life, and you just have to bounce back up, right? No one cares the next day. Like, I think you'd rather someone who lost but puts all of their effort into that fight, and then comes back in the next fight as a different animal, as opposed to someone who has a winning streak, loses, and you never see him again, or someone who just plays a safe victory all the time. So for me, it's more about performance, and, you know, sometimes you're on the bad end of it and sometimes you're on the better end. That's just life. That's how it is.
No, both very good answers. Now, I suppose going at present with so much unknown and uncertainty, I suppose how... maybe it kind of goes in some of both of these questions in a way. But how, I suppose, have you both sort of managed to, I suppose, stay motivated? And do you suppose have anything lined up or any sort of upcoming plans? We'll start with you, Beck.
In terms of like my own training, just trying to, you know, do what I can, you know, at the moment. So I'm lucky I've got some weights. My partner can hold pads for me, which I've been very fortunate with. And just going for runs, getting out there. So then hopefully when all this is over and then fights start, or promotions start saying, you know, they've got dates, and then I'll be ready to be locked in and go. But it's been like I'm making the most of this time and trying to build up my PT business as well. So that's given me a good opportunity to spend a bit more time doing that.
focusing on some other areas. Yeah, no, very good. How about yourself, Win?
Yeah, I'm doing what I can. I'm trying to get into tribute as much as I can and get some work in. Also, hitting pads with the coaches. And in terms of fighting, it's a little bit tricky because we don't know how it's all going to go. I actually talked to my manager last night. Supposed to looking at fighting in a promotion in Korea. And the Korean organizations are all back up and running. There are no restrictions in Korea, which I found very, a little bit concerning, but interesting. It's news to me. So
yeah,
they're actually holding a event end of this month. I said, look, I'm very interested. I just am physically not allowed to leave the country. So basically, once restrictions ease down and I can get out of Australia, then I'll be ready to go.
There you go. No, awesome. And I suppose, look, obviously, maybe in terms of the current situation, again, the circumstances, but for both of you, what I suppose is the secret, or how do you both sort of maintain a good sort of work-life balance, or maybe not even that, but even also, it's managing sort of a social life, your training, actually your work, like PTing. How do all sort of like put it all together? Start with you, Beck.
So for me, just having a structure and schedule, I find even during this time, is important for myself. So I'm still going to Tribute, because at the moment we're launching a Tribute Connect, an online version of Tribute. So still being able to put in some work hours there, and then have set hours for my PTs, but then also make time for myself as well to work on my own goals. So I guess just having that schedule in place.
No, great. And yourself, Wen?
Yeah, I've always been good at balancing things out with a lot of things going on in my life. So it's no different now. I've got a schedule that I keep, just keeping to it, giving enough time to each different thing.
Mm-hmm. No, very good. Now, before we do, I like to call the Revo PT signature questions, which we'll get onto in a moment, but where, I suppose, can our listeners find you? Both, I assume you both have like social media or a website. Where can people reach out to? We'll start with Win.
So I have an Instagram. That's my main thing, which is at Uyen MMA. Same as Facebook, Twitter, and my website is uyenha.com. Like and subscribe.
Brilliant. And Beck?
So I've got my Instagram. You can find me on there. Just my full name, Rebecca, and then my surname, Cerra, one word. So I try to produce a lot of content workouts on there, and then also trying to build up my YouTube as well, which is my name, Rebecca, on YouTube. So check me out.
All right, brilliant. Okay, so we're going to do the signature questions. So pretty much we've got 20 questions. This is going to involve really short, sharp, sort of quick responses. We'll go for you, Beck, first for all of them, and then when you can follow. But essentially, it's rapid fire. Are we ready to go?
We're ready.
Okay. Boxing or kickboxing?
Kickboxing.
Boxing.
Speed bag or heavy bag?
Heavy bag.
Heavy bag.
Hill sprints or sled push?
Sled push.
Hill sprints.
Row or ski?
Row.
Row.
Ali or Tyson?
Tyson.
Tyson.
Joshua or Fury?
Fury.
Joshua.
Double leg or single leg?
Double leg.
Double leg all day.
Drive or navigate?
Drive.
Drive.
Favorite cheat meal?
Pancakes.
KFC.
Sauna or hot tubs?
Sauna.
Hot tub.
Most annoying habit?
Good question. I'm stuck.
Win, jump in. Jump
I bite my nails.
All right. Pass?
Pass, yeah.
All right. Well, actually, now we're going to change the order up. Let's go from you now, Win. We're going to mix it up.
Okay.
What's the best Wi-Fi name you've seen?
Oh, I don't know.
Wi-Fi, no, I think I'll have to pass. I don't really pay attention to the
Yeah.
Wi-Fi.
You just want the wire, just put it on there. All right.
Yeah, just
yeah.
connecting.
Yeah. One word to describe you.
Small.
Kind.
3 things that you can't live without.
Dog, fighting, bed.
Family, friends, fighting.
Beautiful.
That's nice.
What? I go back to the 3. What are 3 things that you would take to a desert island?
A book.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Oh, geez. My dog and a doona.
Heavy bag, boxing glove, and a basketball.
Nice. 2 books that everyone should read.
Mindset by Carol Zwick and Outliers, Malcolm Gladwell.
Nice.
And I like Michael Jordan's biography. It's one of my inspirations, and also Mike Tyson's.
Very good. All right. If you were president of the United States for one day, what would you do?
Send aid to all the developing countries.
I would bring the MB over to Australia so I can see them.
Nice. Do pineapples belong on pizza?
No, hell no.
Yes.
Beck, we're fighting.
And I'm Italian too.
Yeah, actually, no, that's yeah. All right.
What do you what do you say, Greg?
I used to say yes, but now no.
Now you're off it. Wow, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I was on the fence for a little bit, then not anymore. This is when I didn't know any better. So this is obviously when
Okay, fair. Now you're woke.
Now I'm eating Italian pizza. So yeah. All right. Last question. Okay, if you had 2 superpowers, what would they be?
Speed and flight.
Nice.
Say strength and invisible.
Nice. I like it. Alrighty. Well, thanks for obviously joining me. I'll leave you with the final word. We'll start with you, Uyen.
Thanks so much for having us. It was really good to talk to you and share our experiences and stories.
Very good. And Beck.
And yeah, thanks for having us. I really appreciate, talking to you and then the rest of your viewers as well, sharing a little bit about myself with them. So yeah, it's been a really great experience.
Awesome. Now, I'll mention, because we obviously both said where they can find you, but where can they find Tribute Boxing when it's all up and running?
So we've got 2 locations. So we've got our Docklands one and then also Abbotsford. And then we're also launching Tribute Connect, which is an online platform. So you'll get basically a lot of classes, technique as well. You get to know a bit of the trainers as well. So everything from your strength to fundamentals in boxing we'll share on there and classes. So at the moment, the Tribute Connect will be launching very soon. And then once restrictions ease, make sure you come visit us down at Tribute.
Darn. No, awesome. All right. As I said, this is our latest episode of episode 116 with Rebecca Cerra and Uyen Ha. Thanks both of you for joining me. And we'll stay tuned for next week.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Your Revolution podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe so you are notified when a new episode is posted. Like all episodes, I hope you are leaving with some great things that can help you in your life and journey through health and fitness. Get after it, and as always, train with purpose.